What's up? You here to debate?
Yeah, for sure. What's up, dude?
Nothing.
What's
Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
up? Drew, age 32, and he him.
Cool. What are you here to debate about?
Just all right. So I see your list. I mean, I guess we could run through a couple things. The first point, trans men and women are men. And I definitely don't agree with that.
Okay, based on what?
I mean, just like your biological factors. I mean, there's a clear distinction between the two, and I don't see how like I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll start there. I'll let you.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Respond.
Can you first just tell me what biological factors make somebody a man?
um, your hormones, your genitals, your uh, yeah, testosterone. I mean, there are clear, distinct biological factors between male and female.
I'm not talking about male and female.
That's what we're talking about, men and women.
Yeah, men and women, not male and female. That's why I asked you what biological factors make somebody a man, not male.
Okay, I guess. Okay, I guess we could step back and take it there. So what's the because I mean I've heard that argument before, and I'm not trying to be closed-minded or anything like that, but my mentality with this is like, okay, if you call someone a female or male, I mean, okay, let's use a female example because that's usually how I see people get offended. Like a female is a woman. A woman is a female. They're interchangeable. It's one and the other. I don't see the
All
distinct
right, can I
difference.
ask you a question?
Sure.
Are all females women?
Are all females women? I want to say yes.
Okay, so my like female dog, that's a woman.
Your female dog is a no, but okay. I see where you're going with this. But it's like okay, it's like the argument of how like as you grow up we can look at like I don't know, when you look at a cat, you may think of feline or something, but then you see a tiger or a lion, and then that can fall under the same premise, but it doesn't mean that it's not, uh, within the same family. It's just a different, it's just a different animal type. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but so what I'm trying to basically say is like, um, a woman is a female. Calling a woman a female is not incorrect nor insulting. Because then the question, because that's how I say it, is like, okay, like, oh, I'm not a female, I'm a woman. Well, is a woman not a female? Like, yes, she,
I would say some women are females, but not all women are females. And I would say not all females are women, which we both agreed to because you said your female
see, I
dog
guess
was
the
not a
way I
woman.
look at the distinction is like, right, for sure. No, no, I get what you're saying. So I guess the distinction I would make, and I don't know if this is like, because the argument with that is like what I feel like people are trying to do is like cram the idea into one or the other as if male and female were the only options, and I guess technically it is unless you can give me another gender, but well, in terms of like I think the issue becomes when you're looking at male and women, it's like the competition, like competing in sports or things like that. I feel like
But what
the
is
best way
wait,
to
real
go
quick,
about it.
what does competing in sports have to do with like whether something is another thing? Right? If we're just talking about
Right,
whether
because
trans women are women, them competing in sports has nothing to do with that.
well, the reason why I bring it up is because that's how we most easily divide sports, and there's a reason why, right? Men and female can. I mean, is it insulting to say men are just naturally stronger than women, or that we have more dominant physical abilities? So it would be like at an unfair advantage naturally to just put the two to compete. So we do that with sports now to where I get lost in the argument because I'm not like saying it in an ignorant sense of like, oh, men and women, trans women are not like, I'm not getting into that. The way I would have probably approached it is just making it a whole different category in its own, because I hear you when people say they have the right to their bodily autonomy and they have the right to pick their gender. I get that to a certain extent, but to just make the statement that trans men are men and trans women are women is giving the idea that there's no distinction, that man that's biologically
How is
born
it
a
how is
man.
it giving the idea that wait, no, because again, what you're just doing is you're conflating sex and gender, right? We're not conflating sex and gender in these examples, right? So when
I
you
guess that's why. Okay. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
so
My bad.
so let me just ask you a question. Do you think there's some necessary condition, like there's something that all women must share in order to be women? Like there's just one thing that's necessary of being a woman. Like do you believe there to be this thing?
You see, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's a hard distinction, and I hate to say it's because it's one of those things where I could say like, you don't know how to define it, but you know it when you see it. I guess because to get into like what can I tell you that like women have more estrogen. I guess I don't know what the
Not
distinct
always. There's
factor
some
would be.
there's some men who have a higher estrogen count than like a woman does,
Right.
right? So I wouldn't use that
I
as
know
a
any state. Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing. When we get into those, because I feel like there's no one definitive uh, answer or one particular thing that defines like male and female. But I think we can like
well, then let me ask you this.
yeah.
If there is no necessary condition to be a man or a woman, right? If there's no one thing that is necessary to fit into that category, how can we bar someone from the category if there's not one necessary thing needed to fit into it?
But you see how like that can. I hear you, but I don't you see how that can cloud a lot of things we do. Like, I mean,
No.
going back to the most obvious thing as far as like sports, like if someone just identifies as male or female, they can go left or right, whichever side, and that would just, that would mess up. That would just make unfair competition.
I disagree, especially if we're looking at sports. If we're going to say that, like, oh, certain people have advantages and these advantages mean, so what are we going to say that any woman who has a muscle mass similar to that of like the average man, they shouldn't be allowed to compete with other cis women because they would have that same advantage that we're saying the men do, right? I think
But
the
you see, but
idea,
like, what are? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just think the idea of barring people because of some biological advantage means we'd have to bar people in the same group with that biological advantage because we're saying that advantage is unfair.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, I see what you're saying, but then my argument to that is like to like how far are we going to take that and to what extent, because now we're talking about outliers. I mean, I wouldn't know the statistics to this, but what's the likelihood of a woman having the equivalent testosterone of a man naturally or the equivalent strength of a man naturally? Like I don't I can't even imagine that being 1%. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to throw numbers out, but you get what I'm saying. It's just such an outlier that we're gonna establish an entire system
Does it
around.
exist? But does it exist?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, of
Okay,
course
so
we can.
because it exists, we'd run into the issue. Like we have to be consistent, right? We can't say we can't like not do it because we're like, well, what the chances of it happening are slim. No, we'd still have to be consistent on it.
But that's the thing. I think we could be consistent because in the situation where, let's say, this woman, this person that you're we're using as an example, X person who is woman and she has this abnormal strength, uh, way more than the average woman, and it's in comparison to men. Like even in that sense, that outlier. I mean, I don't see how we would need to shift anything because then, I mean, I think that
So
ultimately
what?
what
But
would
wait.
happen
But
is
what
she
happens when it
would pick
happens?
women.
What happens when it
Right.
happens?
That's
What
what I'm.
happens when
Yeah,
there's a
that's what I was getting to.
cisgender woman who has all of these factors that would make her, it would give her this advantage where, and she wants to compete. We're now saying what she can't.
No, no, no. I was getting to that. So what I was saying is that she still competes with the women, but naturally, her rank, her stats, her records, whatever, are going to reflect her strength, her ability. She's still going to compete with women, but she's going to
So
be
then it's
ranked
so then
in the
my
top five, the
so
top
then
three,
it's not about the biological advantage, because if she had that same biological advantage, you wouldn't want her to you would let her compete. So the
No,
biological advantage doesn't actually matter.
but it does though, because like,
It
okay,
doesn't. You just laid out to me how it doesn't.
no, but no, no, because what I guess the best example I can think of, like right now, that pops to mind, like as far as like a freakishly strong woman, is like China, the wrestler. I don't know if you're familiar. Uh, you know, she was like super ripped, body of almost like a dude, whatever the case is. Um, she still competed with women. You know what I'm saying? It's still like a woman. She still competed with women, because you can even make these arguments, and I mean, I think we've seen it. There's even now more competitions where they're doing like this whole 2-on-1 thing. I don't know if you've seen it, or like where these athletic women, strong athletic women, compete with
Wait, I'm sorry.
honestly
I
dudes that
just
have
want,
dad
hold
bods
on,
and
hold on,
still get
hold on,
tossed around.
hold on. I just want you to be logically consistent here. We're saying that women and men can't compete together because there are going to be biological advantages that make it so that men there's going to be biological differences that lead to men having an advantage. So that would mean that if these biological differences exist in cisgender women, right, they should be barred from competing against other cisgender women because they hold those same advantages. Correct?
The reason why I don't think that's correct is because this person, this cisgender woman that we're using as an example, hasn't done anything to uh, enhance or manipulate her biology in any way. I
Neither
mean,
has.
unless
Wait. So a trans woman who has not gone through HRT also hasn't done anything to biologically alter or advance their body in any way. So then we would say trans women who are not on HRT should be allowed to compete.
trans women that aren't in HR. Oh, okay, HRT being sorry. Okay, I got a little lost there. Okay, so you're saying that they're okay. So you're saying that they're not on HRT, right? Not on any steroids, but they're still they're still okay. I mean, but within that transformation of changing. You're still like doing. You're still doing something. Like there's hormone
No.
replacement therapy. You're getting testosterone.
Hormone replacement therapy is HRT. So if they're not on HRT, you would have no issue with them competing, even if they were even if they're male, right? Because they don't have they didn't alter their body in any way. This is my issue when people talk about the sports thing. It lacks consistency. There is no consistency here.
Okay, I guess I'm hearing what you're saying as far as like the HRT, but it's like in the broader picture. I mean, you have men who, in order to compete and transition when they identify as women, they have to they have to go through their change, and part of the change is literally trying to remove testosterone, because that's what like gives you the strength.
What? You
It's
don't.
part of
Okay,
it.
so first of all,
You
you
need to
don't
suppress
understand.
this
You do
testosterone,
not.
and you need
Hold
to
on,
like
friend. You don't understand what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is that you made the claim that even if a cis woman holds all of these same advantages, she should be able to compete no matter what, because she didn't undergo any like medical or any enhancements to her body. She didn't undergo this, so she should be able to compete. So what I'm saying to you is, if we're holding this same standard, why wouldn't we allow a trans woman who has not undergone any HRT, any gender affirming care, any of that? Why wouldn't we allow them to compete? They also didn't go through any changes to their body, and they have these same advantages that the cis woman has.
Okay, I guess my question to that would be: is that happening now? Is that, or do we have examples of that? Because I mean, I don't know if because we have there's examples of men competing. You know, they transition and they compete with women, and then they wipe the floor with all these records. Or
Who?
are there women?
Wait, I'm sorry. Who's? There's not a single trans person that's wiping the floor with cis women. It's not happening.
Okay, that's fine. I can disregard that point. I mean, I've heard that, and it just yeah. So I guess but my question would still stand as far as like, are there any women or transitioning women like that that have competed with men and have like successful careers? I don't know. They equally compete, or they're where they're ranking. Like
Well, no, because we don't let them.
we don't. Okay, I don't follow like sports specifically enough to. But then so then why? What does it seem like there's this whole thing where we're letting men who transition to playing female sports, but or women's sports, but we don't have women who transition and playing men's sports. Is
What?
that what's happening? Is that what you're saying?
Okay,
Because
so I
it
think you
sounds like
don't
there's examples
understand.
of
I don't
women
think you
transitioning.
understand what happens currently in sports. So right now, in most professional sports, if you are a trans woman, you are required to undergo hormone replacement therapy or HRT for upwards of 2 years before being allowed to compete. And that is because when you go on HRT, right, the biological advantages that exist between men and women in competition all but go away. When we look at studies in sports medicine, the only thing they tend to find is like a 9% speed advantage might still exist, but that's about it.
So that argument is stating what that men are not that much biologically different from women. Because I mean, dude, I'm not trying to sound like an old head or anything like that, but that's I
Well,
definitely
a
would
few
not
things here, a few
that wouldn't
things here,
sound with me right.
a
Where it's
few
like,
things
oh,
here.
not women are just 9% weaker than men. That
Uh, okay, so let me try to phrase this. Let me try to restate this again. When somebody is a male and their gender identity is woman, so they are a trans woman. They might have identified as a man previously, but now they are a woman. In order for them to compete in most professional sports, they must undergo HRT or hormone replacement therapy for upwards of 2 years. And when they do this, the biological advantages in strength, in muscle mass, in all of these other things go away because feminizing hormones change your body.
okay.
So then they're allowed to compete because those advantages are now gone.
So example that you gave of this woman who doesn't undergo hormone replacement therapy and is just naturally developing as this super strong woman. That example doesn't.
Yeah,
It sounds like it
sub
doesn't
on
exist. You
Twitch.
just gave it to
Nice.
me
So
to
what
be
I
devil's
did,
advocate.
no, what I did was it's called testing your logic, and you could not, your logic did not hold up when placed under scrutiny.
Yeah, sub on Twitch. Nice.
Okay, can we run that back then? Because I mean, it's not.
Sure,
I
we'll
don't know.
start from the very beginning. We'll start from the very beginning. Why should men and women not be allowed to compete in sports together?
Because I think there's a natural physical. There's a big physical difference, biological difference between the two genders.
And what would those differences be?
Um, I guess the ability for men to grow uh, bigger muscle mass. They can, they can just be stronger, faster. I don't know, etc. There's just there's more dominant physical capabilities with men. I think the output, or yeah, like I said, like muscle mass, strength, things like that.
Great. Now, if I have a female who, for whatever reason, naturally is able to match all of this, so they also build muscle mass the same way men do. they exponentially have more muscle than the average female does. If I have a female with all of these qualities, should they be able to compete against other females?
Yes, I would say yes.
So then it is not about the advantage, because the advantage still exists. So it is not about the advantage. It's just about separating on the basis of sex. And it's not about one being more advantaged in the category than the other, because here we exist somebody who has the exact same advantages that a male body might have, and we are still allowing them to compete. This is why the logic does not hold up.
But my only gripe about, and I understand where you're coming from. My only gripe about your example is that this is damn near non-existent. Like I can't, I don't know I don't know every single person in the population to know if there's a woman who can because the thing is, like, this woman can be, like you said, extremely strong, but it would be like maybe extremely strong in comparison to other women, because once you put her in the dynamic of competing with men, she's no longer like this extravagantly strong person. It's all within like the context of what you put this person in, because we've seen that all the time where, like, people compete at a certain level, then they go up, and once they're in a new professional level, it's like when street fighters try and go and fight in the UFC. I mean, they can be amazing street YouTube fighters. Kimbo Slice was one of those prime examples. Gets into the UFC and gets like mopped, because street fighting is very different from professional mixed martial arts like UFC.
None of this matters when testing your logic. All that matters is, are you logically consistent? And you're not. If there is a woman that has all of these advantages, you would still let them compete. So the advantages.
You're saying advantages against who? Like she has these
against
advantages
other women.
Exactly, against the women. She's strong in the context of women, but when you apply her to the world of competing with men, that strength does not equal
friend, you are that's not what I'm asking.
But we're comparing just the strength. You're saying the gender.
No, we're comparing whether their body gives them biological advantages over another woman's body. And and we've said if it does, right? For instance, there are cisgender women who have higher levels of testosterone, even levels of testosterone nearing that of a male's body. And when they have that higher level of testosterone, their muscle mass is going to be built, their whole body is going to be built differently, right? So they have these same things that would be advantages for a male body, and you're still saying they can compete. So the advantages are not what matters here. It's not about them having an advantage. You just want to separate on the basis of sex. Not because of advantages, because otherwise you would say if they have advantages, they shouldn't be allowed to compete.
Okay, so just following your logic, I'm just curious to know, what would sports look like to you then? Because then it just sounds like it would just be it would be just genderless. Both male and female are competing, and how would that result?
I think when it comes to sports, first of all, I don't know what my position matters here. We're testing your logic. But my position is that all sports should be co-ed and should be based on specific markers for that sport. So like if you're playing basketball, like we should have specific biological markers for like what you would need to play basketball. And like we test people, and then we put the people who meet those same markers in competition with each other. So then you'll have some men competing with women and some women competing with men. When it comes to like fighting sports, I think those should remain weight class.
But you're saying that like in your view the gender wouldn't have, and I mean I'm not going to disagree with that. I get what you're saying. Your approach is just to completely blindside gender and just make it a performance based thing. I just don't think. I don't think the gender thing is like the worst case, the worst way to approach it, because like just men and women are
But
just naturally
under
different,
your
and
under your
it's
logic, gender is irrelevant. We've already been through this. Gender is irrelevant under your logic, because if you had a woman that was at the same level as a man, you would still let them compete. So the gender is irrelevant, right? Whether or not somebody is, or I guess gender is the only thing you care about. You don't care about skill. You don't care about biological advantages. All you care about is separating by gender. And it's just an antiquated way of doing things.
I mean, I'm not going to argue it's not antiquated. It is the way we've done things, but I think we came to that conclusion not ignorantly. I don't think it was like, because I think people make it sound like, unless it was this way, I don't know. People make it sound like it's some white guy who's just trying to divide us between. I know. I think this was like probably a science-based approach. We looked at the biological differences between men and women.
Wait, if it's a
We noticed
science-based
the
approach,
differences.
if
We
it's a
looked at
science-based,
it.
wait, I have a question for you. If it's a science-based approach, why has like professional chess barred trans women from competing against women? What biological advantage do men have over women in chess?
No, that's crazy. That's clearly not a physical sport. That I'm not even gonna argue.
Well,
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
it's not about that. It's never been about that. It's never been about, oh, we want to protect women from men in sport. It's never been the case. It's always been about just wanting to separate based on gender categories.
Okay, I mean, I guess okay, I see what you're saying, and I guess the way I would try and reconcile that is by splitting the different types of sports we have. There are contact sports, and there are what would you call something like chess, mental sport or something? I don't know, because you're looking at like things like debates, things like you said, chess, board game competitions, video games. I mean, these are things that have nothing to do with the person's physical capability, but more so their mental agility or intelligence, whatever the case is. That you can absolutely put can be genderless for sure. I don't think there's any intellectual difference between men and women. In fact, I think we have pros and cons or benefits, or one is better than the other things. But like when it comes to that, there's no physical contact. Like a woman is not in danger of a man's punch coming straight to her face. You know what I'm saying? Like this is more of a mental competition versus a physical one.
Oh, okay, but wait a minute. So this is my issue, is none of this actually matters. So for instance, when you talk about like fighting sports, if it were the case that males will always have a biological advantage, right? Then Patricio Manuel wouldn't win almost every fight he enters. He's a trans man. He should not be able to beat a cisgender man. He should not be able to beat someone that was born male, because males would always have the advantage, but they don't. He's beaten them multiple times.
I get that, and listen, I'm not. But what we're talking about, I think. Okay, I guess the premise, like I get to try and get to a conclusion, is like, are we really trying to shake up and change an entire industry over outliers? Because I mean, that's the thing. We're talking about like the most minor percentage
If
of
the
people.
if
Like
the if the
these freakishly
separation in the
strong
industry
women.
is built on flawed logic, then I don't care if they're small outliers. I would want to change it because it's built on faulty logic.
I don't necessarily look at it as faulty logic, because if you're looking at like these one-offs where like this person has this freakishly strong, this woman, just sticking to that example, like this one individual has like this freakishly strong capability. She's stronger than the average. It's abnormal, whatever the case is. Nobody's telling this person she can't compete. She has.
That's the issue. It's not about the advantage for you, bro. We're just going in circles, and you haven't been able to substantiate. All you keep showing that it's not about the biological advantage. You keep showing
No,
this.
because what I think is happening right now is that I can probably I come to the conclusion that humans are complex. There's no left or right. There's no one size fits all answer. I think the best we can do is have a general consensus of how to approach that uh, encompasses the masses, and then I acknowledge and recognize this minor small group. What I would say to that is they still compete within the same gender that they're in. They just like I said, they naturally become the top 10, the top 5, the number 1, the best one in the world, but in terms of women. And if she's just that freakishly strong person but still like just natural, like she's just that's just who she is, her record would stand the test of time. We would always recognize that person as the number 1, the top 2, the top 3, whatever the case is. And it's just it is what it is. It's that record. But nobody's denying the ability to compete. Nobody's telling, because then we're gonna turn the whole thing around, and I I just don't see it. For me, I don't see it, because it would be an issue for me if we were telling these people that they can't compete, for sure, because then we're getting into like human rights and whatever, but like the ability to compete is still there. And if you have that strength, then you're gonna make it to the top. I mean, I don't see how that's an issue. I could understand if it was a problem if we were just rejecting these people altogether from sports, or not allowing women to play sports, for sure. But there's there's plenty of opportunity for women to play sports. And if this one individual woman you're saying is freakishly strong and this and that and the other, she still has the freedom to compete, and her results will reflect the strength and talent that she has.
Yeah, I mean, we're like I said, we're going around in circles. I feel like you haven't been able to significantly substantiate your points. So I do want to move to the next person, because there are other people waiting to debate. So
Sure. Okay. No problem. Man.